In the tranquil embrace of Willow Creek, a suburban idyll where the rhythm of life seemed to flow undisturbed peace was an assumed right. Manicured lawns and hushed evenings whispered of security, a collective sigh of contentment echoing through tree-lined streets. But beneath this placid surface, a darkness lay in wait, ready to shatter the illusion. One crisp autumn morning, the familiar routine gave way to the unthinkable. A life, vibrant and full of promise, was abruptly extinguished, leaving behind only an unbearable silence. No witness stepped forward. No weapon was found. The very air seemed to hold its breath, concealing the truth within its unyielding grip. Yet, in our increasingly connected world, every shadow holds a potential observer, every corner a hidden eye. What if the most advanced technology designed for convenience also bore witness to the unspeakable? And what if the future of justice lay not in human testimony, but in the silent, tireless gaze of an unseen sentinel? The morning mist in Willow Creek draped itself over the affluent neighborhood, like a soft, familiar blanket muffling the world into a hushed serenity. Here days began with the quiet hum of electric vehicles and the gentle thud of newspapers on driveways. Security was not merely a concept, but an inherent expectation woven into every manicured lawn and tree-lined street. It was a community that measured its peace in years of unbroken tranquility. Then, at precisely 7:17 a.m., that long-held calm was ripped apart. A raw, piercing scream tore through the morning air, followed by the jagged, panicked words of a 911 dispatcher. What began as a routine dog walking transformed into a scene of unimaginable horror. The desperate urgency in the caller's voice pulsed with an immediate, sickening rupture in the day's placid rhythm. Patrol cars, their sirens a jarring, discordant wail, descended upon the intersection of Elm Drive and Cedar Lane. There, stark against the burgeoning light, lay the body of 26-year-old Liam Davies. He was slumped beside his gleaming obsidian black Tesla Model 3, a vehicle that had symbolized his burgeoning success, now a silent monument to his abrupt end. The grim tableau offered few immediate truths. Homicide detectives from Willow Creek arrived, their faces etched with professional gravity, their movements measured. They moved like shadows across the dew-kissed pavement, their eyes meticulously sweeping for any sign of a struggle, overturned pots, scuff marks, or the glint of a discarded weapon. Yet the ground remained largely undisturbed. No obvious defensive wounds marred Liam's body. The only discernible imprints were the frantic, blurred traces left by the dog walker and the precise tire tracks of emergency vehicles. The absence of a clear weapon, the unsettling quietude of a death without a visible fight, only deepened the enigma. Faced with such baffling stillness, surrounding an undeniable tragedy, investigators found themselves grappling with a profound void, a case that offered no initial threads to pull, no obvious path to the truth. Liam Davies embodied the very spirit of the modern innovator-driven, brilliant, and perpetually attuned to the leading edge of technology. At just 26, his world was a vibrant tapestry woven with intricate lines of code, the quiet hum of servers, and the relentless pursuit of the next transformative application. He had poured his formidable intellect into a nascent app development company, fueled by a deep-seated ambition to innovate, to create something genuinely new, something that mattered. His recent acquisition, a sleek, gleaming Tesla Model 3, was far more than mere transportation. It stood as a tangible monument to his dedication, a testament to countless late nights, carefully calculated risks, and an unshakable belief in the possibilities of tomorrow. Yet beneath those layers of ambition and technological foresight, Liam remained profoundly anchored to a world far more intimate. His unwavering foundation was Eleanor Davies, his mother, a single parent who had devoted every fiber of her being to nurturing his keen mind and gentle spirit. When she spoke of him, her voice carried the immense weight of a love that was both fiercely protective and utterly boundless. "He was a brilliant, gentle soul," she murmured her words, heavy with a palpable ache, always thinking about the next big idea. He saw possibilities where others only saw insurmountable obstacles. Eleanor often recalled evenings spent immersed in discussions of algorithms and user interfaces, her comprehension growing not from technical prowess, but from the sheer joy of witnessing his passion catch fire. Liam's triumphs were in their truest sense extensions of her own. The news of his death struck Eleanor with a physical blow, stealing her breath and casting her adrift in a desolate, bewildering landscape of disbelief. It was a loss that transcended the simple absence of a son. It was the brutal shattering of a shared future, a cruel severing of the most fundamental bond imaginable. The once familiar sounds of her home, the muted clack of Liam's keyboard, the echo of his laughter vanished, replaced by a profound emptiness that pressed down vast and suffocating. The ripple effect of the tragedy in Willow Creek extended far beyond Eleanor's immediate anguish. Liam had cultivated a close circle of friends drawn to his sharp wit and unwavering kindness. His former colleagues, even those from a shared, now defunct venture, remembered him as a tenacious problem solver, approaching every challenge with an almost childlike enthusiasm. For all of them, Liam's sudden, brutal departure left a deep chasm, a gaping void where boundless potential had once thrived. The community mourned not just a life senselessly taken, but the vibrant future that had been stolen, leaving behind only unanswered questions and the haunting echo of why. Detective Sergeant Marcus Thorne arrived at the grim scene, his presence a quiet, formidable anchor amidst the initial flurry of activity. 2 decades in homicide had honed his gaze, stripping away sentiment to reveal only the stark facts. His eyes, typically sharp and analytical, now moved across the dew-kissed ground with a practiced, almost clinical gravity, absorbing every minute detail. Liam Davies lay where he fell, a silent, stark presence. The immediate surroundings, however, offered a frustrating vacuum of information. "Any witnesses?" Thorne's voice low and gravelly cut through the murmurs of patrol officers. A collective shake of heads met his question. The few early risers in Willow Creek claimed to have seen or heard nothing amiss before the sirens shattered the dawn. The usually bustling neighborhood had been strangely, unnervingly quiet during the critical hours. His focus shifted to the gleaming Tesla Model 3. Its surfaces were pristine, untouched by any sign of forced entry or visible struggle. No shattered glass, no telltale dents, no indication. It was the direct target. Forensic technicians, their gloved hands precise, meticulously dusted the sleek exterior, yet it yielded no clear prints. On the damp grass nearby, a scattering of indistinct footprints dissolved into smudges rendered useless by the chaos of discovery. A clear motive remained buried, obscured by the quiet fade of Liam Davies's life. And perhaps most baffling, there was no weapon. No glint of metal, no blunt object, no spent shell casings. The absence of such fundamental evidence created a gaping wound in the nascent investigation, leaving detectives to grasp at air. "An empty canvas, Thorne," murmured to Detective Miller, his jaw tightening, the familiar police lament betraying the profound challenge before them. They possessed a victim, a probable time of death, a precise location. Beyond that, the trail was cold, a void stretching out before they had even begun to follow it. The hours bled into a relentless cycle of methodical canvassing. Thorne's team fanned out across Willow Creek, knocking on every door, displaying Liam's photograph, reiterating the same questions. Had anyone noted anything unusual, a strange vehicle, a person lingering where they shouldn't be? The responses were consistently polite, filled with sorrow, and devoid of any tangible lead. Neighbors expressed shock and sympathy, but offered no piece of the puzzle. The initial surge of investigative energy, fueled by the urgency of a fresh crime, slowly dissipated into a gnawing sense of stagnation. Days stretched into a week. Each morning, Thorne's team arrived at the station, their resolve unwavering, only to confront the same unyielding wall. Leads, when they materialized, dissolved with frustrating speed. Incidental fingerprint analyses returned no matches to known offenders. Scoured security camera footage from neighboring homes revealed nothing but the routine, undisturbed rhythm of Willow Creek life. The brief flicker of optimism for a swift resolution began to dim, replaced by the chilling weight of unanswered questions. Liam Davies's killer had vanished, leaving behind only the haunting silence of an increasingly distant, fading trail. With the crime scene offering no more immediate disclosures, Detective Thorne's team redirected their efforts. The absence of physical evidence, a clear weapon, or any cooperative witnesses forced the investigation inwards towards Liam Davies's own life. Every detail of his existence, from his online presence to his personal effects, became a potential source of revelation. Among Liam's possessions, the sleek Tesla Model 3, now resting in the sterile confines of the police garage, commanded particular attention. More than a mere car, it was a complex network of cutting-edge technology engineered for constant digital awareness. Conversations among the younger forensic technicians, those more accustomed to the intricacies of modern vehicles, invariably drifted to its sophisticated functions. Sentry mode, in particular, sparked quiet, speculative interest. This integrated surveillance system, an ever-vigilant electronic eye, was designed to monitor the car's surroundings, meticulously recording any perceived threat or significant motion while parked. Conventional wisdom among seasoned investigators largely dismissed Sentry mode as a viable lead. The vehicle itself bore no marks of forced entry, nor was it stolen. If the attack had occurred outside the car, what relevant information could an internal camera system possibly capture? It was a logical conclusion rooted in decades of traditional police procedure. But Marcus Thorne's methods extended beyond the strictly conventional. 2 decades spent navigating the labyrinthine depths of human depravity had honed his intuition into an almost prescient instrument. His gut instinct, a quiet, insistent voice, forged in the crucible of countless dead ends and unexpected breakthroughs, compelled him to scrutinize every digital facet. He had witnessed too many cases pivot on the overlooked, the unconventional. The very landscape of crime was evolving, and with it, the nature of evidence. If a piece of technology, however improbable, offered even a sliver of insight, it demanded exhaustive exploration. "We need a full warrant for the Tesla's data logs," Thorne instructed his team, his voice calm but imbued with unshakable resolve. "Everything GPS coordinates, internal diagnostics, and especially that Sentry mode footage. Every frame, every bite. The request raised a few eyebrows. It was an exceptionally broad demand for a vehicle showing no signs of direct involvement. Yet Thorne's authority, earned through an impressive record of closing seemingly impossible cases, was absolute. The warrant was swiftly secured, a testament to the department's unwavering faith in Thorne's judgment, even when his hunches veered sharply from established protocols. The Model 3 was promptly transported to a specialized digital forensics lab. There, a dedicated team of technicians began the painstaking pixel-by-pixel extraction of its electronic memory. It was, by all logical measures, a desperate gambit, a search for a ghost in an ocean of data. But for Detective Thorne, facing a case utterly devoid of tangible leads, the Tesla, in its silent vigilance, offered the sole remaining beacon of hope, a quiet technological promise of truth buried deep within its electronic core. Weeks bled into a month, each passing day deepening the oppressive stillness that had settled over the Liam Davies investigation. The initial surge of urgency, the frantic pursuit of answers, had long since receded, leaving behind a quiet, corrosive stagnation. The physical case file, once brimming with active leads, now lay untouched, gathering dust on a shelf, a grim testament to a puzzle deemed unsolvable. Through these desolate weeks, Eleanor Davies, Liam's mother, remained an almost spectral presence. She would appear at the precinct, her face etched with profound weariness, her eyes holding the immense weight of a grief that seemed to cling to the very air of the station. She made no demands, offered no accusations. Yet her silent suffering was a constant, unspoken plea for truth. Her palpable sorrow deepened the quiet despair settling over the detectives' team. It was against this backdrop of fading hope, in a world miles removed from the precinct's somber hallways, that a meticulous and painstaking process unfolded. Within the secure, sterile confines of the digital forensics lab, a team of highly specialized technicians worked in quiet, almost meditative focus. Among them was Dr. Eris Thorne, no relation to the lead detective, a cyber forensic expert whose patience was as legendary as his precision. For weeks, he had been sifting through the colossal volume of data extracted from Liam's Tesla Model 3. Every byte, every diagnostic log, every faint whisper of recorded information was painstakingly isolated and analyzed. It was a search for a ghost in the machine, a digital needle in a haystack of terabytes, demanding not just technical prowess, but an almost infinite endurance. Then, in the hushed hours before dawn, Dr. Thorne found it. Tucked deep within a seemingly innocuous folder, a segment of Sentry mode footage. It was motion-triggered, activated in the pre-dawn darkness of Liam's final day. The video, initially grainy, flickered to life, revealing the moments leading up to Liam's death with disquieting clarity. The camera's wide-angle lens, designed for comprehensive surveillance, captured the periphery of Liam's vehicle. A shadowy figure materialized from the gloom, moving with a deliberate, almost predatory stride towards the parked Tesla. The interaction was shockingly swift, a brutal flash. A sudden lunge, a violent engagement too quick to fully discern the exact nature of the assault, yet undeniably aggressive. Then the figure recoiled, spun abruptly, and melted back into the anonymity of the Willow Creek street, vanishing as quickly as they appeared. In that silent digital vigil captured by the Tesla's unblinking eye, a truth long hidden began to lay itself bare. The image, though possessing the slight distortion, inherent in wide-angle security footage, held undeniable clarity for crucial identification. As the forensic team worked to enhance and stabilize the frame's specific details, emerged with startling definition, a distinct geometric tattoo etched onto the assailant's left forearm. Even more critically, in the background, parked partially obscured across the street, a vehicle could be seen. Its license plate, though only partially visible, displayed a sequence of numbers and letters distinct enough to offer a concrete, tangible lead. The long shot, the intuition that had driven Detective Thorne against conventional wisdom, had delivered more than a breakthrough. It was a revelation that would forever alter the course of the investigation, breathing life back into a case presumed dead. The Sentry mode footage, once dismissed as a mere technicality, had, with startling abruptness, reignited the fading embers of Liam Davies's cold case. The digital revelation provided not just a thread, but a steel cable. The partial license plate, painstakingly cross-referenced through state vehicle databases, combined with a precise facial recognition match and the undeniably distinctive geometric tattoo on the assailant's arm, all converged rapidly. They pointed to one individual, Owen Reed. The name initially drew a blank for Detective Thorne, but for those who knew Liam, it carried a chilling, almost spectral resonance. Liam Davies and Owen Reed. Their paths had intertwined briefly, forming an ill-fated partnership on a promising tech startup just months before Liam's murder. Their venture and innovative social networking application had by all accounts plummeted into spectacular failure. What followed was a swift and profoundly acrimonious dissolution of their professional relationship. Former colleagues interviewed under the weight of the new information recalled heated arguments, bitter accusations of mismanagement, and a deep-seated sense of betrayal that had simmered beneath the surface of their public split. This was no random act of violence. It was a ghost from Liam's past, abruptly manifest in horrifying violent reality. Detective Thorne's team immediately launched a comprehensive investigation into Owen Reed's life. On the surface, Reed's social media presented a carefully curated tableau of effortless charm and undeniable success. His online profiles were awash with images of exotic travel, gleaming luxury watches, and a seemingly thriving career as a savvy venture capitalist. He cultivated an aura of boundless affluence, a man who appeared to navigate life with an enviable ease untouched by hardship. Yet beneath this meticulously constructed facade, Thorne's seasoned investigators peeled back layers of deception. Public records painted a starkly different picture, a pattern of increasingly severe financial instability, a precarious house of cards built precariously on mounting debts, and a succession of failed investments. The image of the carefree jet-setter dissolved, revealing a man teetering precariously on the brink of ruin. More alarmingly, interviews with former employees and associates unearthed a stark contrast to his public persona. They spoke of a short, explosive temper, sudden, violent outbursts of rage when confronted with setbacks or challenges to his fragile authority. He was described as a man who struggled profoundly with control, who perceived even minor slights as egregious, unforgivable betrayals. The relentless, often tedious convergence of digital forensics and traditional background checks had delivered a primary suspect with undeniable clarity. The Tesla, a silent, unblinking guardian, had pierced through the shroud of anonymity, exposing a killer who believed he had vanished without a trace. The motive, once a perplexing void, now coalesced into a chillingly personal narrative, not a random act of savagery, but a crime rooted in a shared history of ambition, crippling failure, and a festering resentment that had at last exploded into murder. The hunt had transformed. It was no longer a blind search, but a direct, unyielding pursuit. The stark precinct interview room, a space defined by its muted tones and the perpetual hum of recycled air, became the quiet arena for the first direct confrontation. Detective Thorne, his gaze steady, sat opposite Owen Reed with Detective Miller positioned discreetly to his side. Reed arrived appearing utterly unruffled, almost serene, his designer shirt uncreased, his posture radiating an unbothered confidence that bordered on arrogance. He offered the detectives a polite nod, articulating with practiced ease that he was entirely willing to assist their investigation. Of course, anything I can do to help Reed, offered, his voice a smooth, uninflected instrument betraying no hint of anxiety. This is truly terrible about Liam. I haven't seen him in months, you know. His expression was a carefully constructed facade of appropriate concern, a feigned sorrow at the mention of Liam's death. He maintained a steady, if slightly detached eye contact, his composure remarkable. Thorne initiated the interrogation with a non-threatening, almost casual conversational tone, a technique honed over years of subtly disarming reluctant subjects. His voice remained calm, devoid of any accusatory edge, as he slowly began to cultivate a fragile semblance of rapport. He touched upon general topics, gently steering the conversation towards Liam's life and recent endeavors, all while meticulously observing every minute shift in Reed's posture, every fleeting flicker in his eyes. He referenced the perceived success of Liam's recent tech projects, watching for any tell. Reed listened, occasionally tilting his head in feigned curiosity, offering vague condolences, all the while meticulously adhering to his prearranged narrative. "So, Mr. Reed," Thorne began, his voice dropping just perceptibly, "could you outline your movements for us on the evening of Liam's death, specifically from around 9 p.m. on Monday through Tuesday morning?" Reed did not hesitate. He launched into a smoothly articulated account, a meticulously constructed alibi designed to place him hundreds of miles away. "Oh, that night," he began with a dismissive wave of his hand. "I was out of town, actually. Had a very important business meeting in San Francisco. Flew out Monday afternoon. Didn't get back until late Tuesday, if I recall correctly." He proceeded to offer specific, if unprompted details, hotel booking confirmations, flight numbers, and the names of a few business contacts, all delivered with an air of casual certainty, as if recounting a routine travel itinerary. His story was precise, almost too perfect, lacking the natural hesitations that often accompany genuine recollection. He even managed a slight sympathetic shrug, subtly implying his genuine regret that his absence precluded him from offering any practical assistance. Detective Miller, observing from her quiet position, meticulously jotted down notes, her gaze unwavering. She registered Thorne's subtle, almost imperceptible cue, a fleeting, almost imperceptible tightening around his eyes, a silent signal. It was a clear indication that despite Reed's outwardly impenetrable composure, the first hairline fractures in his carefully constructed facade were already beginning to emerge. The opening act of the interrogation had concluded, and Owen Reed, utterly confident in his elaborate deception, had unknowingly stepped firmly into a trap laid with digital precision. The polite probing had run its course. Detective Thorne leaned forward, his voice dropping deliberately devoid of judgment. "Mr. Reed," he began, "we've been conducting a very thorough examination of Liam Davies's vehicle. As you know, his Tesla Model 3 incorporates quite advanced security features. One of those, called Sentry mode, continually records its surroundings when parked." The words hung in the sterile air, a chilling current of expectation. Owen Reed's carefully maintained composure shattered visibly and utterly. His eyes, which moments before had held a confident if distant gleam, now darted wildly, searching the bland walls of the room as if for an impossible exit. A faint, almost imperceptible tremor ran through his jaw. The casual nonchalance he had worn like a second skin dissolved, replaced by a sudden rigid stillness. What footage are you talking about?" He stammered, the smooth cadence of his voice abruptly frayed, a raw edge of anxiety cutting through. The question was a desperate, transparent play for time, a frantic attempt to grasp the new treacherous ground that had just opened beneath him. Thorne remained unperturbed. With a slow, deliberate motion, he slid a tablet across the table. On its screen, not a video, but a series of high-resolution, still frames from the Sentry mode footage. The initial image was a wide shot, slightly blurred, showing a figure approaching Liam's car in the pre-dawn light. Thorne tapped the screen, and the images sharpened, zooming in with unforgiving clarity. There, undeniable and stark, was Owen Reed's face, captured by the Tesla's unblinking lens. And on his left forearm, distinct and irrefutable, was the geometric tattoo, the same unique pattern identified in the initial intelligence sweep. Reed's eyes locked onto the incriminating images. His jaw clenched, a prominent muscle, spasming uncontrollably. The meticulously constructed alibi, the confident assertions of being hundreds of miles away, evaporated like morning mist. His shoulders sagged almost imperceptibly, his defiance replaced by a panicked, desperate scramble. That's a coincidence," he mumbled, his gaze glued to the tablet. I was in the area that night. Not San Francisco. No, I misspoke. I was in town, actually. Just driving around. Couldn't sleep." His voice, though he tried to steady it, cracked audibly under the strain. Detective Miller, who had been observing with a quiet intensity, noted the frantic recalibration of his narrative. "So, Mr. Reed, your initial statement that you were out of town was incorrect. You were, in fact, in Willow Creek, near Liam Davies's home." She pressed her voice, sharp, cutting directly through his faltering evasion. Reed flinched then, with a visible effort, attempted to rally his mind, racing to forge a new, more plausible story. Yes, I was. But I didn't see Liam. Not at all. I was just driving by. A late-night drive. It was purely coincidental. He tried to conjure his earlier smooth demeanor, but the effort was futile, his words tumbling out with a forced, unconvincing quality. The very foundation of his truth began to shift and buckle his carefully erected fortress of lies, now visibly crumbling under the relentless glare of the digital evidence. His prior composure had vanished, leaving behind the telltale signs of a man trapped, forced to improvise, and failing spectacularly. Under the relentless, methodical pressure applied by Thorne and Miller, Owen Reed's narrative continued its frantic, desperate mutation. The coincidental late-night drive swiftly spiraled into a convoluted account of a chance encounter with Liam, an unexpected, heated confrontation that, according to Reed, simply got out of hand. His posture shifted from feigned innocence to a defensive crouch, a calculated attempt to minimize his culpability. We ran into each other," he asserted, his voice now a strained, reedy rasp, a stark contrast to his earlier smooth delivery. "Things escalated. It was an argument about the old business. You know, he got in my face. He pushed me. I swear, I just reacted. It was self-defense. This new, hastily constructed version of events, however, immediately collided with the chilling reality documented by the medical examiner's forensic report. Liam Davies had sustained injuries consistent with a brutal, swift assault from behind, leaving no room for a mutual struggle or a defensive posture. Reed's claims of self-defense were not merely inconsistent, they were demonstrably false, unraveling the fragile threads of his latest fabrication. Even as the interrogation continued its psychological grind, other critical pieces of the puzzle were falling into place with devastating precision. Miles away in the sterile silence of the forensics lab, a parallel investigation was independently drawing its own damning conclusions. The crime scene team, during their initial meticulous sweep, had collected minute trace evidence, including epidermal cells and fibers discovered precisely where Liam's hand had fallen. More critically, a microscopic sample of DNA, consistent with a desperate final struggle, was found lodged under Liam's fingernails. The results, delivered with a quiet urgency, confirmed what the Sentry mode footage had only hinted at. The DNA was a definitive match to Owen Reed. It was irrefutable biological evidence, a silent scream of physical contact that Reed vehemently denied. Simultaneously, the digital forensics team, no longer confined solely to the Tesla's data, delved deeper into the electronic lives of both Liam and Reed. Their tireless efforts uncovered a chilling, incriminating trail of communications that painted a far more sinister picture than a mere chance encounter. In the weeks leading up to Liam's murder, Reed had barraged Liam with a barrage of increasingly aggressive text messages and emails. These were not simply professional grievances. They were vitriolic, filled with thinly veiled threats and seething resentment over their failed business venture. "You ruined everything," one email read, its digital ink practically dripping with malice. Another declared, "You owe me everything you have, Liam, and I will collect one way or another." The digital correspondence laid bare a deep-seated animosity, an obsessive fixation on Liam's perceived betrayal, and subsequent success, providing a chilling, unequivocal motive that now solidified all the digital and biological evidence. The net around Owen Reed was closing strand by undeniable strand. His desperate improvisations in the interview room were being systematically dismantled by the cold, irrefutable language of forensic science and indelible digital footprints. He was no longer merely a suspect. He was becoming the undeniable focal point of an accelerating, irreversible pursuit of justice. The sterile walls of the interview room seemed to press in on Owen Reed, now a man stripped bare of pretense. The relentless tide of evidence, the silent, damning frames from the Tesla's Sentry mode, the irrefutable DNA match found beneath Liam's fingernails, the vitriolic digital communications, screaming of malice, had systematically pulverized every one of his fabricated narratives. His carefully constructed alibis lay in dust, replaced by frantic, increasingly desperate improvisations that served only to tighten the inescapable noose of truth around him. Detective Thorne, his voice a steady, unyielding current, methodically laid out the totality of the case. He spoke not with anger, but with an unwavering certainty that left no room for doubt, no crevice for escape. He detailed the Sentry mode footage frame by painstaking frame, meticulously illustrating Reed's premeditated approach, the violent, swift interaction, and the chillingly calculated flight. He then presented the DNA evidence, a biological signature that defied any claim of a coincidental encounter or the fabricated notion of self-defense. Finally, the aggressive emails and texts, now starkly projected onto a large monitor, spoke volumes of Reed's simmering resentment, his obsessive, almost pathological fixation on Liam Davies's perceived success amidst his own spiraling financial ruin. Each piece of evidence was a targeted strike, systematically chipping away at Reed's dwindling resolve. Hours bled into a profound, suffocating silence. The air in the room grew heavy thick with the crushing weight of unconfessed guilt. Reed's initial arrogance had long since evaporated, replaced by a pallid, defeated exhaustion. He slumped in his chair, his eyes glazed, utterly devoid of their earlier defiance, his polished facade finally splintered beyond repair. He stared not at the detectives, but at some unseen point on the table, as if watching his own meticulously crafted lies dissipate into thin air. Then a quiet, guttural sound escaped him. A choked, desperate gasp, ragged and raw. The silence that followed was absolute, broken only by the low mechanical hum of the air conditioner. Owen Reed finally broke. His confession, when it came, was a torrent of fractured words, a fragmented outpouring of long-held resentment, perceived betrayal, and a twisted sense of entitlement. He still attempted to minimize his culpability, framing the confrontation as a sudden explosion of uncontrollable anger, a momentary lapse. But the core truth emerged with chilling clarity. He had not stumbled upon Liam by chance. He admitted to lying in wait, fueled by the corrosive combination of financial desperation and a deep-seated rage over their failed business venture, blaming Liam entirely for his downfall. The plan was not to kill, he claimed, but to confront, to demand what he felt was owed. Yet the confession, despite his attempts to dilute it, confirmed the premeditated nature of the confrontation, the undeniable intent to ambush, and the fatal outcome as a direct consequence of his own unbridled fury. The arrest of Owen Reed sent a palpable ripple of profound, albeit temporary, relief through the shaken community of Willow Creek. A killer who had walked freely among them was now irrevocably in custody. For Eleanor Davies, the news was a complex, overwhelming deluge of emotions. The crushing weight of the unknown, which had suffocated her for weeks, finally lifted, replaced by a raw, immediate pain of confirmation. There was no joy, not truly, but a fragile sense of closure, the first tentative step on the arduous journey of healing that only justice could provide. The silent sentinel of Liam's Tesla had finally delivered its unwavering testimony, giving voice to the voiceless and pulling a hidden killer from the deepest shadows. The trial of Owen Reed opened with an air of grim solemnity, a stark and chilling counterpoint to the quiet suburban street where Liam Davies's life had been so cruelly cut short. For Eleanor Davies, seated steadfastly in the front row of the gallery, each passing day of testimony was a wrenching, agonizing ordeal. Every piece of evidence, meticulously presented, every expert witness called to the stand systematically tore open the freshly cauterized wound of her profound grief. She endured graphic forensic details, clinical descriptions of her son's final brutal moments, and the chilling playback of Reed's meticulously crafted lies from the interrogation room. Her unwavering presence in the courtroom was a testament to her fierce, unending love for Liam, a silent yet palpable force that resonated through the hushed chamber. At the very core of the prosecution's damning case lay the irrefutable digital testament of the Tesla's Sentry mode. The footage, though exhibiting the inherent graininess of security video, was undeniably clear and unflinching. projected onto a massive screen for the jury. Its silent frames narrated the final brutal minutes of Liam Davies's life with an unsparing objectivity. The video captured Reed's calculated approach, the sudden violent lunge, and his swift, cold retreat from the scene. It stood as a silent, unwavering witness, its narrative unassailable, leaving absolutely no room for doubt or convenient reinterpretation. The distinct geometric tattoo on Reed's arm, clearly visible in the enhanced frames, solidified its role as a stark, damning signature. Reed's defense team, in a desperate last-ditch attempt to sow seeds of reasonable doubt, launched a multi-pronged assault. They painstakingly attempted to discredit the digital evidence, citing vague technical malfunctions, theoretical possibilities of tampering, and the inherent distortion of wide-angle lenses. They audaciously sought to portray Liam Davies as the aggressor, spinning a convoluted narrative of a volatile business dispute that they claimed spiraled into an act of self-defense on Reed's part. Defense lawyers crafted intricate performative arguments suggesting Liam's perceived success might have made him confrontational, even aggressive. Yet their desperate arguments withered and collapsed under the precise, unyielding cross-examination led by the prosecution. The state meticulously presented the unblemished forensic evidence, the undeniable lack of defensive wounds on Reed, and the chilling, premeditated intent revealed in the digital communications. Detective Marcus Thorne took the stand, his testimony a calm, methodical recounting of the entire investigation. His voice remained devoid of overt emotion, focusing solely on the facts as they had meticulously unfolded. He detailed the procedural steps, the initial frustrating dead ends, and the pivotal, ultimately crucial role of the Tesla data in breaking the intractable case wide open. His unwavering composure underscored the sheer weight of the evidence, lending an unshakable gravity to every detail he presented. Finally, in a moment of profound and agonizing emotional power, Eleanor Davies rose to deliver her victim impact statement. Her voice, though trembling with the raw, untamed agony of loss, gained an astonishing, unyielding resonance as she fixed her gaze directly upon Owen Reed, who sat impassively at the defense table. Her words were not a plea for mercy, but a searing, unvarnished accusation, a mother's undiluted pain translated into an unshakable demand for accountability. "You took away my son," she choked out, her voice cracking with the enormity of her grief. "But you cannot take away his memory, nor the justice he so profoundly deserves. Liam was light, and you were shadow. And now, the shadow must face the light." Every juror watched rapt as she fixed Reed with a gaze that held generations of sorrow and an indomitable, unbreakable will. The jury, having absorbed weeks of grueling testimony, graphic images, and Eleanor's deeply personal appeal, deliberated for only a few short hours. The verdict, when it finally arrived, was swift and unanimous: guilty of first-degree murder. A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom, quickly followed by a quiet, communal exhalation. Owen Reed's polished facade, once so impenetrable, finally irrevocably crumbled, his face contorting into a mask of bitter, unadulterated defeat. Justice, though long delayed and fiercely contested, had, with an unrelenting and unflinching gaze, found its absolute mark. With Owen Reed now irrevocably behind bars, the suffocating burden of the unknown began ever so slowly to recede from Eleanor Davies. The stark, undeniable truth of Liam's fate, though devoid of joy, offered a fragile, nascent peace. Her journey through grief was far from concluded. It remained a winding, arduous path, punctuated by waves of profound sadness and an enduring ache for her lost son. Yet, the resolution of the case, the fact that Liam's killer had been held accountable, provided a crucial foundation for healing, a solid ground upon which she could begin to reconstruct a life forever altered. The legal verdict was not a cure for her sorrow, but it marked an essential step towards finding a way to carry her pain without being consumed by it. For the first time in months, she found herself able to recall Liam's infectious laughter and vibrant spirit without the immediate onset of blinding anguish, to cherish his memory, not solely as a victim, but as the brilliant, intelligent young man he truly was. The case of Liam Davies and the pivotal role played by the Tesla's Sentry mode swiftly resonated beyond the confines of Willow Creek's courtrooms. It became a seminal example, a powerful testament to how emerging technologies could fundamentally reshape criminal investigations. Where traditional policing once relied heavily on human witnesses, meticulous forensic minutiae, or the elusive confession, a new paradigm was now unfolding. Vehicles, once mere objects, were transforming into unexpected instruments of observation, their integrated camera systems and data logs proving to be tireless objective sources of evidence. Law enforcement agencies across the nation began to urgently reevaluate their established protocols, with police academies rapidly incorporating new modules focused on the complex extraction and nuanced analysis of vehicular data. The Liam Davies case was frequently cited in training seminars, debated in legal journals, and informed legislative discussions concerning the delicate balance between digital privacy and public safety. It marked a significant shift, clearly signaling an era where a car's embedded intelligence could hold the critical key to uncovering truths long concealed. For Detective Sergeant Marcus Thorne, the resolution of the case represented more than just another successful closure. It was a profound affirmation of his deepest professional conviction. He had always maintained that in the relentless pursuit of truth, every minute detail mattered, every seemingly insignificant thread held potential for revelation. His gut instinct, that quiet certainty, which had compelled him to impound Liam's car and demand access to its digital memory, had been dramatically vindicated. The case served as a stark reminder that even when human witnesses fail, when physical evidence is scant, unexpected technological allies can emerge. Thorne would often reflect on how Liam's Tesla, a marvel of modern engineering, had given powerful testimony to a victim silenced by violence, solidifying his belief that the investigative tools of tomorrow, coupled with the unyielding dedication of those who seek justice, would continue to pull even the most elusive perpetrators from the deepest hidden recesses. The unseen sentinel of technology, ever watchful, ensured justice found its undeniable light. If you wish to delve deeper into how the unblinking eye of technology aids justice's relentless pursuit, subscribe for more Shadow Files. Don't forget to subscribe to Shadow Files and hit the notification bell.